Welcome back to the Glass House. Welcome back to the Glass House for the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Again, we are here for boys basketball state tournament action, semifinals specifically here on this Friday, as Loretto and Tyner are finishing up a Class 2A state semifinal matchup. We had a couple of 1A games earlier today. We will be followed here by 3A and 4A. So we got hoops all day here at Murphy Center. It's a great day.
Yeah, it's always good to be with everybody on a Friday, but especially this Friday, because if you don't like high school basketball, you can pivot to the men's college basketball tournament. If you don't like the men's college basketball tournament, you can pivot to the ladies. And if you don't even like the ladies, you can pivot to about a million other tournaments that are seemingly going on. And that just kind of is scratching the basketball surface of things. But always good to be in the Glass House. And this has been a great day already, as 8 teams, will punch their tickets to championship Saturday, try and cut down some nets tomorrow.
Absolutely. As we said, Chattanooga Prep opened the day with a 65-59 win over Humboldt in Class 1A. The defending state champions Sentinels are trying to successfully defend that, and they will face off against Memphis Hillcrest, which survived a 44-41 contest against Wayne County in the other semifinal there. So it'll be Chattanooga Prep and Hillcrest in tomorrow's 11 a.m. championship matchup in 1A. Again, we've got Loretto and Tyner finishing up here. Loretto leads 58-45 with 29 seconds to play. The winner will play the winner of the upcoming game between Alcoa and Jackson County. Those two will meet at 1:30 tomorrow. Again, Alcoa and Jackson County getting ready to play. Tip-off will be around 2:15. Loretto celebrating, and I think with a 13-point lead and 29 seconds to go, it's safe.
Yeah, this game has turned in a big way for Loretto, who trailed at halftime. Talking with their one of their radio crew announcers, our good friend, Mr. A.J. Good. First time Loretto had trailed at half all season, realistically, outside of maybe one game around the Christmas break A.J. could think of, and they were kind of wobbly. Grayson Burleson, Mr. Basketball finalist, held scoreless in the first half, didn't get going until the third. But Kason Bowie, after he was very limited in their quarterfinal win, he stepped up in a massive way today, scoring 20-plus points, 10-plus rebounds, kind of dominating inside for Loretto. Desperately needed to pull things out in the second half, and they did. It looks like this is going to be a game that is a lot closer than it was about 5 minutes ago, felt like.
Yeah, Kylan Wilkerson coming off the bench with 10 points, 6 of 6 from the free throw line as well to help kind of steady the Mustangs down the stretch here. Again, 59-47 with just under 10 seconds remaining, and Loretto trying to dribble it out here. The crowd will tell you that's a done deal. Loretto 59-47 headed to the state finals, staying undefeated. That puts them at what, 32-0?
Somewhere around
32, 33?
Maybe 33, I think, and continue.
I'm sorry, 34.
34, and continuing that unbeaten run, and, trying to rekindle some magic after they didn't get to make the trip here in 2020, obviously. With the tournament being shut down, they've got some unfinished business, they feel like. And, yes, they've been fun to watch all season long. This was a gritty win. Neither of their wins here, Mo, this week have been particularly impressive, but they've gotten the job done, and that's a sign of a really, really good team.
Well, they're not 100% healthy, and I don't know how much that's had to do with it. It might just be a case of, you having the best 8 teams in the state right here, and anything can happen. But it doesn't have to be pretty this time of year, and no less than the late, great Pat Summit. Survive and advance. The style points don't really do a whole lot for you at this point, so Loretto is playing for the gold ball tomorrow, and everything else is kind of secondary.
Should be fun, right? Alcoa, with a couple of gold balls here, in the last 2 seasons, and Loretto will try and pry it away from them. That should be fun. It's kind of just encapsulating. It's been just a fun tournament from start to finish. We've seen a lot of great basketball across all classifications this week.
Absolutely. We've got boys high school basketball state tournament action going on here. We've also got NCAA tournament action going on, as Wade said. We will be visiting with Blake Lovell from Southeastern 16 in the next segment, get his thoughts about yesterday's action and what has taken place today, what's going to take place today. So looking forward to speaking with Blake here in the next segment. In the next hour, we will be joined, if we can Shanghai a chair from somewhere, by Middle Tennessee State women's basketball coach Rick Insell. The Lady Raiders did not close out the season quite the way they would have liked to, but Coach Insell is going to sit down with us for a little bit and kind of talk about the way things played out here over the last week or so, and what's to come for the Lady Raiders. I mean, they have built a program that expects to be in the postseason on a yearly basis. I think I saw a tweet that said 7 straight postseasons for them with this WBIT appearance that they made last night. Unsuccessful. But.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting, right? I'll be curious to ask Coach Rick, kind of a state of transition after losing a really good squad from last year, but still returning some very, very key pieces this year, and then kind of falling short of your ultimate goal. How will the offseason go? He'll break it down and give us the answers coming up in the second hour.
Absolutely. Also talking a little NBA, we had some activity on and off the floor in the NBA here over the last 24 hours or so. We'll get into that, talk a little NASCAR, a little NFL, some Major League Baseball, some college baseball. Interesting game last night in the college ranks, a little bit south of here in particular. So we'll get into all of that, get you ready for the weekend. Looking forward to all of that. Let's go ahead and get started, Wade, with yesterday's results and this weekend schedule on the Rundown.
This is the Rundown.
Friday Rundown is here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's wind back the clock and let's give you results from yesterday and games that were played right here where we sit inside MTSU's Murphy Center. Boys basketball action saw Hillsboro knocking off Maryville 53-47. Upperman defeated Hume Fogg in the very first game of yesterday's action 54-40. And Whitehaven in the nightcap. Mo was on hand for this one, folks, staying up late, burning the midnight oil, and it sounds like a close game, 40-36, as Whitehaven knocks off Independence. In baseball action yesterday, CPA picks up a 4-1 win versus Father Ryan. Gallatin with a 5-3 victory versus Creekwood. It was Lincoln County 6, Innsworth 4. Giles County picks up a 6-4 win versus McMinn County. John Overton with a 4-3 win versus Lawson. Coffee County wins 9-8 versus Loretto. But Loretto obviously has 7 or 8 of their basketball guys here, and Loretto still came from 6 runs down with 2 outs in the 7th to almost pull off a crazy comeback in that one, but does fall to Coffee County 9-8. Westmoreland with the 16-4 victory versus Monroe County, Kentucky yesterday. It was Clarksville Academy 12, Montgomery Central nothing. Laverne picks up an 18-1 win versus Pearl Cone. It was Prattville Christian out of Alabama, 4-1 over Lawrence County. Rehoboth out of Alabama, 6, CAK 5. Richland picks up a 13-4 win versus Mount Pleasant. It was Vero Beach, Florida, topping Riverdale 9-6. Siegel and Oakland got it on yesterday, and it was Siegel winning that one 10-4. Tullahoma knocking off Spring Hill 10-0, and Zion Christian defeats Franklin Road Christian 14-12.
In softball action on Thursday, Franklin County with an 11-7 win over Murfreesboro Central. Middle Tennessee Christian defeated Grace Christian out of Franklin 5-3. Mount Juliet with a 14-3 win over Gallatin. It was Siegel 9, Riverdale 5. Smyrna with a 9-1 win over Lebanon, and Zion Christian blanked Franklin Road Christian 10-0. On the pitch yesterday, Franklin Classical doubles up Community 2-1. Forest with a 7-0 win over Culleoka. It was Columbia Central 4, Spring Hill 0, and Battle Creek with a 9-0 win over Wayne County. Flag football action. Riverdale picks up a pair of victories, 7-6 over Stewart's Creek, 18-9 over Oakland. In men's basketball action of local interest from the NCAAs, Tennessee downs Wofford 77-62. Women's basketball action yesterday from the WNIT. It was Western Illinois 89, Lipscomb 74. And from the WBIT, as we mentioned, Belmont with a 64-51 win over MTSU. On the ice last night down at Bridgestone, the Preds fell to Anaheim 4-1.
Boys basketball, we opened our show telling you guys about Loretto's big victory versus Tyner Academy, but still to come in mid-state area action tonight at 7:15. Hillsboro will tangle with Bradley Central in a Class 4A showdown. Again, Hillsboro, Bradley Central coming your way at 7:15. Let's go to the baseball scoreboard for tonight. Sullivan East and Blackman will get underway at 4 p.m., as will Riverdale, who is at Mount Juliet. Also at 4, it'll be Dixon County versus Stewart's Creek. At 5:30, CPA is traveling to Page. White House will be at South Warren, Kentucky at 5:30. At 6 p.m. tonight, Spring Hill will visit Cascade. Zion Christian is on the road at Collinwood. Lewis County is at Columbia Academy. Brentwood traveling to Father Ryan this evening at 6. Mount Juliet Christian is at Red Boiling Springs, and Gordonsville will travel to Watertown. 6:30 p.m., it'll be Richland at Battle Creek. Also at 6:30, you can catch Murfreesboro Central Magnet, who's at Coffee County. Centennial is playing Columbia this evening in the Mo Patton Bowl, as it were. Also at 6:30, Santa Fe will take on East Hickman. Clarksville will travel to Grace Christian Franklin. Creekwood is at Hendersonville. Florence, Alabama is on the road at Loretto tonight. Maybe I can bust some of them basketball guys down. They can do a little double dip today. I doubt it, though.
I doubt it.
6:30 action tonight for John Overton at Nolensville. Springfield is at Rossview. Middle Tennessee Christian is at Siegel. Portland traveling to Westmoreland. Also capping our 6:30 window is Dixon County, who is at Wilson Central. 7 p.m. tonight, Franklin is at Lawson. And start time unknown, but we do show Davidson Academy taking on Riverdale this evening.
In softball action this evening, 4 o'clock start for Pope John Paul II at Overton. Spring Hill travels to Culleoka for a 5 o'clock matchup. Also at 5 o'clock, Westmoreland is at Friendship Christian. Columbia Academy travels to Grace Christian of Franklin. Richland faces Milan. Santa Fe is at Mount Pleasant. All of those, again, 5 o'clock starts there. At 5:30, Centennial is at Blackman. Eagleville goes to Community. Murfreesboro Central is hosting Shelbyville at 5:30. Gordonsville is at Riverdale at 5:30. And at 6, Antioch is at Laverne. Men's soccer action, boys soccer action, Westminster of Georgia faces Siegel at 11:20. At 3 o'clock, Oneida plays Providence Christian. At 6:30, Smith County hosts Portland. At 6:40, Franklin Road Academy is at DeKalb County. Also, Pigeon Forge plays Murfreesboro Central at 6:40. 7 o'clock first touches for Rockvale at Blackman. Christ Presbyterian Academy at Hendersonville. Cookville at Laverne. Riverdale at Oakland. Gallatin at White House. And Smyrna at Wilson Central.
Go to flag football action beginning at 5 o'clock tonight. Waverly is on the road at Dixon County. Waverly will also meet Montgomery Central. And guess what, folks? Montgomery Central will meet Dixon County. All those games set to begin at either 5, 6, or 7. A little round-robin action sort of between those three squads there. Men's basketball action. Not good for the Lipscomb Bisons. Taking it on the chin versus Iowa State. But the good news is, Mo, they still got a second half to rally. We'll talk more about them in just a minute. But they trailed. That game got underway at 12:30 on TNT. Coming up later this evening, Vanderbilt, 10-seeded Commodores taking on the 7-seeded Gales of St. Mary's. That is East Regional Round 1 action in men's college basketball. In the Birmingham 2 Round 1 Regional, Oregon at Vanderbilt. That game gets underway at 4:30 in the women's college basketball tournament. You can see it on ESPNW. And then in the Birmingham 3 section, South Florida and Tennessee. We talked a lot about it on the show yesterday. Lady Vols in action on ESPN at 7 o'clock. 9:30 tip-off tonight as the Grizzlies are on the road in Los Angeles taking on the Clippers. The game will be shown on NBA TV. You can also catch it on FanDuel Sports South.
Saturday baseball, and be sharp on these because these times are all over the board. 12:30 start for Beach and Blackman. 12 noon, Clarksville Academy plays at Christ Presbyterian Academy. Rocket City of Alabama is at Columbia Academy. That's a 1 o'clock first pitch. At 2:30, Rockvale and Creekwood will face off. That's after Creekwood takes on Providence Christian at 12 noon. At 3 p.m., Blackman is at Friendship Christian. At 1 o'clock, Innsworth plays at Gallatin. It's a 12 noon start for Ravenwood at Grace Christian of Franklin. At 5 o'clock on Saturday, Santa Fe travels to Harpeth. At 4:30, Siegel is at Middle Tennessee Christian. Spring Hill plays at Murfreesboro Central. That is a 1 o'clock start. Somebody's playing Providence Christian at some point. I don't know who, where, or when. 3 o'clock, Upperman is at Riverdale. Again, Harpeth and Santa Fe. Okay, we've got Harpeth at Santa Fe. We've got Santa Fe at Harpeth. Those two teams are playing at 5 o'clock tomorrow. Check your local listings. At 4 o'clock, Smyrna is at Shelbyville. At 10 a.m., Hendersonville plays Upperman. At 1:30, Warren County plays Smyrna. And at 1 o'clock, Dixon County plays at Watertown. Your baseball for tomorrow.
Other games on the docket tomorrow in terms of softball, at least. Lincoln County's going to play a double dip. First one versus Oakland coming your way at 1:30, and at 5 o'clock versus Columbia. Soccer action tomorrow. It'll be Scottsboro, Alabama, meeting Murfreesboro Central Magnet. That game is set to begin at 8 p.m., but we'll do this in reverse order. If you go back to 2:30, Westview is going to meet Providence Christian. Again, a 2:30 kickoff for Westview and Providence Christian, but early in the morning. Should have played these guys on St. Patrick's Day, Mo, but McGill Tulin out of Alabama going to play Siegel at 9 a.m. So a trio of men's soccer showdowns tomorrow on the docket. Flag football action getting underway at 9 o'clock. White House on the docket versus Hendersonville. Portland is playing Liberty Creek. Both of those, again, getting underway at 9. At 10 a.m., you got White House and Portland. You got Hendersonville and Liberty Creek. At 11 a.m., Westmoreland versus Gallatin and Beach versus Station Camp. High noon, it'll be Beach versus Gallatin and Westmoreland versus Station Camp. NCAA basketball action continues tomorrow, Midwest Regional. We do know it'll be UCLA, and we do know it'll be Tennessee. Should be a fun matchup, 7-2 battle there, and that game will be shown on TBS. Look for a
What's
later
the time? We don't have that time yet. I think it's 8:40.
I was going to say, I believe it's the last game in that quad at least. So yeah, it's going to be later. Stay up late and watch the ball. It'll be a fun showdown between the Bruins and the Vols. NHL action tomorrow. Preds are back at home yet again, and they will welcome a suddenly surging Maple Leafs team that's trying to wrestle away the division from the Florida Panthers. Puck drop comes your way at 6 p.m. You can see it on FanDuel Sports South. Meanwhile, across town in Nashville, CF Montreal will come to Geodis Park, and NSC and CF Montreal kick off at 7:30. That game will be shown on Apple TV.
Boys soccer action on Sunday at 12:40. Wren of South Carolina and Murfreesboro Central take the pitch somewhere. Boys lacrosse action Sunday, 4 o'clock. Green Hill is at Centennial. Might have to wander up there and see that. I've never seen a lacrosse match. May have to go check that out over at CCCHS. Women's basketball action on Sunday, 2 o'clock. You can see it on ESPN+. It's the Northern Arizona Lady Lumberjacks, I guess.
Come on.
Against the Belmont Bruins. Again, that's a 2 o'clock start. You can see it on ESPN+. And in NHL action on Sunday, it's a 5 o'clock puck drop as the Predators travel to St. Louis, taking on the Blues. You can see it on FanDuel Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Your top story brought to you, as always, by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. Did you ever think you would see a day where there might be a Super Bowl that took place in Nashville?
Not until 2 years ago when they announced the new stadium was getting built. That was not a possibility. That was not even a dream. That was not even a real dream prior to that announcement. But suddenly with that announcement, there at least is, yes, the possibility that we could be in the running for the big game.
It feels like, by all indications at this point, it's not just a possibility, it's a probability. But apparently Governor Bill Lee has had contact with NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell here in the last day or so regarding Nashville's bid to host Super Bowl 63. in February of 2029 in that new stadium that you referred to, Wade. 2029 would be the earliest that Nashville or anybody else could host the Super Bowl, because the Super Bowls between now and then have already been assigned. San Francisco, LA, and Atlanta will be hosting 60, 61, and 62. So the first one available for Nashville or anyone else would be Super Bowl 63 in February of 2029. I'm writing in support of efforts for Nashville to be the host city for the next available Super Bowl in 2029. As Tennessee's capital and a dynamic global hub, the city of Nashville is uniquely positioned to welcome the NFL for a memorable and successful event. He goes on to say a lot of other stuff, but it all kind of backs that up, and it pretty much says everything that everybody already knows.
100%. I was getting ready to say this is what we call cheap, good publicity for Bill Lee, right? And you could maybe argue he needs that, but that's a different story for a different day. But this is just kind of sugarcoating or piggybacking on what I think everybody, like you just insinuated, is really, I mean, we're looking at an article from Pro Football Talk. We're not looking at an article from, Channel 4 News, WSMV out of Nashville. Everybody in the NFL knew kind of from the moment the stadium was announced, the Nashville Sports Council stated their goals. We want to host the Super Bowl. We want to host the college football playoff. We want to host the Final Four. This is what allows us to do that. By having the enclosed stadium, we want to do all these things. And so, yeah, Governor Lee, it never hurts, obviously, to get a little extra political juice, but it kind of feels like he's just regurgitating what everybody kind of already at least had a feeling.
And to be fair, it really feels like a case of not if, but when.
For sure. And we've seen this before, right? I mean, as soon as the bins gets open, I mean, when new stadiums, and Vegas is the only other stadium that's kind of being bandied around right now in this realm. So when you build the new stadium, it's pretty much with the intent of getting to host an event of the Super Bowl's caliber down the road, and that's exactly what it seems like. It would at this point be a massive shock if Nashville didn't host the Super Bowl in the next 5 to 6 years.
And this article goes on to say that, as you mentioned, Vegas is also in the running for the 2029 game. So it feels like if Nashville doesn't get it in 29, 2030 is probably the latest that it would be here.
Absolutely. There's been talk. WrestleMania is definitely going to be coming at some point. I mentioned the college football playoff. They want to get involved. The Final Four is one that kind of was spoken to, in addition to, being able to have concerts year-round, kind of all part of the new selling point of the new Nissan Stadium. But it is. I mean, I'm kind of joking here at Governor Lee's expense, but I'm also glad that he's doing this because it never hurts, right? I mean, you might as well check every box, cross every T and dot every I type situation, so it couldn't hurt. But it feels like it's somewhat inevitable. And at $2.1 billion and perhaps rising, I wouldn't mind hosting a Super Bowl if we're going to spend that much money.
Yeah, and I mean, it's good for him to get out there and say that just in case somebody else, well, hey, what does your governor think?
Right.
So, yeah. So Bill Lee is on board for Super Bowl 63. Let's take a break here on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Murphy Center, we will be joined by the Blake Lovell of Southeastern 16, talking some hoops. Stick around.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
The weekend warm-up continues from the Murphy Center here on the campus of Middle Tennessee State University as the boys basketball state tournament continues with semifinal action here on this Friday. Alcoa up on Jackson County 7-4 in the second Class 2A semifinal game here. The winner faces Loretto, a 59-47 winner just now over Chattanooga-Tyner. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. Hoops, hoops, and more hoops. And to help us talk a little bit about yesterday's hoops and what's going on today, we welcome in Blake Lovell of Southeastern 16. Mr. Lovell, how goes it?
Hello, guys. There's some basketball being played everywhere right now, it looks like. So
Little of this, little of that, right?
There is some basketball being played everywhere. And I guess right now the big question for everybody, and I'll preface this by saying I did not do a bracket. How's your bracket?
yeah, I always say, like, I feel like every year it's like I fill one out and I just care less and less. And I think the first game of the day yesterday, I picked Louisville to beat Creighton. And after Creighton won, I just said, you know what? I don't care anymore. I haven't even looked at it since then. So I'm like, it's all over. I want a perfect bracket or I want nothing. Just give me complete perfection or I don't care.
Well,
you only have
what were you saying about perfection?
You only have 1 in 5.9 quintillion odds to hit a perfect, so you might as well just go over or just throw it in the shredder.
Exactly.
It sounds like you did, yeah. What did jump out to you after day 1 and through this early window of day 2, Blake, though?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where, again, we're always kind of looking for the upsets. And I think, some of these that people sort of pegged as potential options, McNeese did what they did to Clemson and Drake to Missouri and, obviously had a great game last night between Michigan and UC San Diego. But I think overall, to bring it back to the SEC, I think you want to see some of these top SEC teams I think it's a 20-point win over Alabama State, but it was not the most impressive win. I'm sure you guys have seen the quotes from coaches and players afterwards just talking about how it was unacceptable, how they played. And, Alabama comes out and hangs on against Robert Morris today as a 2 seed. They're not going to be happy about letting Robert Morris kind of just do whatever they want on the boards and all that kind of stuff. I thought Tennessee played better than those two. Wofford was kind of a tricky matchup because of the three-point shot. They put up a lot of those, and so any of those kind of teams can make it interesting. But we'll see if that translates to the second round, where maybe it's just getting past that first game. All of a sudden, you get that out of the way, and now you kind of turn it back on the way we've seen these teams do in SEC play, or maybe it's part of a bigger problem where some of these teams start getting knocked out. But we'll find out starting tomorrow.
We were talking to Jerry Palm earlier in the week, Blake, after the bracket came out, and obviously we have a lot of interest in the SEC, and they got 14 teams in, but now it's about backing that up. I mean, you got a lot of teams in, but how good are those teams that you got in? Mississippi State just lost to Baylor in an 8-9 game earlier today, like you mentioned. Missouri lost to Drake. I mean, what is it that you're looking for? What do these SEC teams have to do for folks to not scoff at the best conference in the country?
Yeah, and I do feel like it's kind of one of those for the SEC where you're sort of in a can't-win scenario now because you put so many teams in to where, look, the teams that have lost so far, right? Mississippi State, Georgia, Texas, all teams that had a losing record in conference play. Texas, I said I just didn't think belonged in the field, even as the SEC guy. I just didn't think they'd put anything together to be in the field. And they got in, lost to Xavier. Georgia loses to a Gonzaga team who, quite frankly, probably should have been an 8 seed. They're not your typical 8 seed. Again, look at just kind of some of the way Mississippi State against Baylor won a national championship several years ago. Future Hall of Fame coach on that sideline. And then Missouri, they've probably been the most disappointing so far, but let's be honest too, Missouri was probably playing their worst basketball of the season coming into this thing, and as a 6 seed playing a 31 Drake team who played a completely different style. Those are the upsets that we probably should have known was coming. And then you kind of have Arkansas be able to sort of even it out, right? Like they're the team with a losing record in SEC play who got a big win over Kansas. So I think it all sort of evens out to me to this point, because the thing about these teams that did get in, and that's where it's like when you get this many teams in, you're not going to get 10 teams to the Sweet 16. Like it's just not going to happen. It's really just saying, all right, we got this number of teams in. You feel like at certain times during the season, some of these teams like Mississippi State were capable of making a Sweet 16 run. But with the way they were playing heading into the tournament, with the draw they got, that just wasn't going to be the case. So I don't think I look at it, even though the SEC is whatever the record is to this point, I don't see it as a huge disappointment yet, because to me, it still is all about those top teams. Those are the ones who all have national championship aspirations. And whenever we start seeing those teams fall, I think that's where things start to say, all right, maybe we've got to question some things about the league this year, because those are the teams you're really riding as you go through this tournament.
Kind of with that being said, Blake, of those top-tier teams, we obviously haven't got a peek at Florida just yet, but if of those three, maybe, whether it's Auburn, Alabama, or Tennessee, which one of those three do we maybe have, we're stroking our chin saying, that was a little too close for comfort in the first round?
Yeah, I mean, believe it or not, I think it's Auburn. I think they're the one, to me, that now they get a Creighton team who can absolutely do some things to frustrate them, And
that was one of the best games Creighton has played all season yesterday, too, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, okay, well, all of a sudden, a team that's made a Sweet 16 Elite 8 run, like in the past 5 years, all of a sudden they're getting hot. Well, you're telling me that's who Auburn, who is not hot, the complete opposite of that right now. Again, you see the coaches. Stephen Pearl had a quote yesterday. Dylan Cardwell had a quote talking about how it's just unacceptable. Dylan Cardwell is questioning, the team's effort and all this other stuff. What's it going to take for them to actually, show a little bit more? If that's what we're talking about with the number one overall seed heading into playing a Creighton team that has a 7'1" center and Ryan Kalkbrenner, who's played a lot of big games, Stephen Ashworth's played a lot of big games at the point, that's a tough matchup, in my opinion. But I will say, too, I think Tennessee's got a tough matchup against UCLA. I think Florida will have a tough matchup against UConn if UConn beats Oklahoma, which I expect tonight. And then it's like Alabama, to me, probably still has the best draw of that group, because I think whether it's Vanderbilt or St. Mary's, I just think Alabama is the kind of team that can run those two teams down the court and be successful. So it's all about the draw, and we say that every year. And so even for a team like Florida, who looks invincible right now, I'm not telling you with 100% certainty I think they're going to get to the second weekend, because I think if they run into UConn, there are just those intangibles for a back-to-back national champion. And again, it goes back to the draw, right? Like SEC teams were put in this field as high seeds, but if you look at all of them, there are potential pitfalls everywhere, and that's where this is going to be the make-or-break moment, starting tomorrow, where you've got opportunity there for 4 teams playing tomorrow and however many teams are playing on Sunday, but these aren't the easiest matchups on paper. So
you mentioned Alabama. How concerned are you? Are you concerned at all with their struggles in a 90-81 win over Robert Morris?
Yeah, and I mean, we did a quick post-game reaction to this, and I'm like, I know these two fan bases don't want to hear this, but I said, Alabama and Auburn, you're in the same spot right now, because you both had the same problems. They just didn't come out with a sense of urgency. They let Robert Morris beat them on the glass, got 16 offensive rebounds. And Alabama fans were asking me, well, who's the better matchup, Vanderbilt or St. Mary's? I'm like, are you kidding me? It's Vanderbilt.
We got bigger fish to fry.
I'm like, St. Mary's is they're one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. I'm like, and you're going to sit here and ask me which one is tougher? I mean, normally I'd say the SEC team, right? But like you said, Wade, I mean, they got bigger problems right now. Like, they need to be worrying about other things because they got to play a more crisp game. But, all of a sudden, that second-round matchup does look a little bit more interesting, even though Alabama, again, in a bad game for most people to look at them and say, man, they didn't play well. They still scored 90 points. So it's like that's the thing with Alabama, and I think that's what makes them different than everybody else, perhaps even Florida possibly. When Alabama plays poorly, they still find a way to score a lot of points. And so I think that is going to be something that could still give them an edge as they go through this tournament. They didn't play their best today, but they still put up 90. They win the game. That's what it comes down to. And we had this kind of same sense about Alabama last year. They were giving up a ton of points down the stretch last year, but they kept finding ways to win because they could score a few more than the other team. And I wonder if that's going to be the same scenario that plays out here. So I still feel like Duke and Alabama are on course to play each other in the Elite Eight. But BYU, should Alabama advance past this weekend, BYU's the team I'd want no part of if I'm the Tide. They look fantastic right now.
They look great, and they're ripping and running. They're shooting threes as we speak, it seems like, just letting them fly. Blake, I do want to ask you, and Mark, toss our graphic up, but is there not going to be a more lit second-round matchup than what's going to go down in Providence tomorrow? Patino versus Cal, and Arkansas seemingly I saw a great message last night that said that Kansas is now known as Kansas. They've officially been absolved, at that title. But Arkansas, potentially, you talked about draws. I mean, you can maybe make the case, slip by St. John's, maybe wiggle by a Texas Tech if that's what you end up getting. We could be looking at Arkansas maybe making an Elite Eight run here, perhaps.
Yeah, I was kind of all in on the idea that whoever won Kansas and Arkansas could make a run here because of the reasons you just mentioned. I just think that you're talking about two teams in those two that were preseason top 16, I think, teams in the country. Obviously, Kansas was near the top. Arkansas, I think, was 15th or 16th, something like that. And I'm thinking, okay, these are 7 and 10 seeds. Whoever wins this game, they maybe find a little bit of that magic they felt like they were going to have early in the season. Look out, because you never know what can happen at that point. And so I think now that it's Arkansas and you see that they've gotten Boogie Flan back and everyone was panicking about, oh, no, what's going to happen if we bring this absolutely stud point guard back into the lineup? Is it going to mess everything up? Of course it's not. They look fine. And now it's like they have the possibility. It sounded like John Calipari said today, they may bring Adu Thero back. So if they're bringing back, two of their best players on the roster and they got everybody ready to go for Saturday, then, St. John's, don't get me wrong. Yes, they're coached by Rick Pitino. He's one of the best still in the business. There's no question about that. And if you look at it, I think they've lost. So St. John's has 4 losses this year by a combined 7 points. That is absurd for a team that is sitting here, at 31-4. But that's where they are at this moment. And I think you're looking at the situation where they're a great defensive team, but they leave a lot to be desired on offense. So if Arkansas can kind of come out, find ways to attack them, on the offensive end, I think Arkansas, who is also a team that does not get enough credit for their defense, I think they can win this game. And then, like you said, Texas Tech, they have injury situations, not completely sold on them. Don't know who comes out of that part of the bracket. Maybe it's Texas Tech, maybe it's Drake, but Arkansas can make a run here as long as they can just find a way to play like they did against Kansas tomorrow against St. John's.
Yeah, I would not be shocked whether that's just it's part of the nature of college basketball, right? The draw and the matchup, and St. John's feels gettable, certainly for Arkansas, for those reasons that you just mentioned. I think it's going to be fun, and then, who knows? So that's the team that I'm kind of curious about. Real quickly, Blake, I did want to ask you, too, as the resident Michigan fan on this show, handicap the Michigan-Texas A&M matchup after San Diego scared the bejesus out of me last night.
I'm gonna go with the Rocky III Clubber Lang quote. Prediction? My prediction? Pain. Between these two teams, are you kidding me? It's gonna be an absolute it's bully ball at its finest between these two teams. And I know that was the first thing Dusty May said last night when he was asked on the broadcast right after the game. Hey, what do you think about Texas A&M? We got a rebound. He said nothing else, right? He said that's all he said. We just got a rebound. And so he knows. That's what they're going to have to do, because I think if you're looking at it, how does A&M win this game? they're just simply more physical than Michigan. And I think that's what it comes down to. If they win this one, it's because they simply go in there and bully them in the paint. Like, that's what it comes down to, really. I mean, that's the name of the game. But I think overall, though, I mean, look, A&M's offensive profile looks like a team that has like 12 wins, but yet they have 23. That's how bad their shooting percentages are pretty much everywhere on the floor. But yet, because they are the best offensive rebounding team in the country, and they get it on 42% of their offensive possessions. So it's not quite every other possession, but like the fact that they get an offensive rebound on 42% of their possessions, that's just absurd. Like, it is just absolutely absurd. And so, I mean, they're the kind of team that can work that style and beat you. And I think it's where if they're more physical, which I think they are the more physical team than Michigan, that may be what winds up being the thing that dictates how this thing unfolds. But also, you know this, Michigan has a tendency to turn the ball over, careless turnovers at times. A&M does a good job pressuring you, forcing turnovers. So it's tough for me to pick A&M with any confidence just because they don't shoot it well, again, anywhere. But they do seem to have some of those things that can beat a team like Michigan.
I agree.
Blake Lovell of Southeastern16.com joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Blake, for those that don't know, you mentioned some live updates and that kind of thing. Tell us what y'all are doing over at Southeastern16.com with relation to the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, we're pretty much just finding a way to group all these SEC games together and do kind of our live reaction right after the game. So, we just did something on Alabama, Mississippi State. So that combination of SEC teams, we'll do something here in a little bit after Vanderbilt and Ole Miss. So we'll be live on YouTube for that. And then later on, Florida and Kentucky, we know still to play a bit later. So, I mean, it's just kind of how we're trying to do it. We appreciate the NCAA, tournament committee and everyone scheduling this, to make it work for us. Unlike yesterday, right? You had 4 SEC teams playing like within a 30-minute window, but it actually works out well tomorrow. Every SEC team is like 2 hours apart from each other. So you're kind of going to be able to watch SEC basketball all day tomorrow with those 4 teams advancing on Saturday. So.
And they can find your content at the website or find it by following you on Twitter. How's the best way to get to it?
Go to YouTube and find us there. Just search for Southeastern 16. That's the easiest way to get to everything that we're doing. And, you can find us on that. And, I'm on Twitter at the Blake Level.
Anything else we need to get from this guy before we let him go and make some of his own content?
Well, real quick, we haven't talked about Kentucky at all, but I do want to bring up / ask Blake, how is Mark Pope? I appreciate what he's doing, but walk us through. He's promised to pay for the gas for all of the Kentucky fans that make the trip and prove that they had the tickets to go to the game in Milwaukee. I'm just curious from a legal standpoint, how his staff is able to kind of pull that off. I guess as long as no recruits are involved, he's okay, right? But it seems like he's going through with it, which I think is really cool.
I guess in this day and time, it might be cool even if it is a recruit involved.
That's a good point.
Who knows?
Maybe trying to spin them that way.
Yeah.
Those 2 guys we saw in the picture earlier, John Calipari and Rick Pitino, are saying, thank goodness I didn't make that offer back in the day because that would have been a good idea. But, Mark Pope is all in. He's like, come on, let's get everybody there to Milwaukee. So, again, I don't know how that math works out, but I'm guessing that's a little bit of gas money if you're going from Lexington or the state of Kentucky to Milwaukee. But, give him credit. He's trying to get everybody behind them and just try to prevent what happened last year, right? We all know what happened with Kentucky in the first round. Hoping that doesn't happen again against Troy. Mark Pope, a very, very generous man, and he's hoping that the fans will kind of get back to him tonight in that game in Milwaukee.
Maybe Marathon Oil or somebody is a big booster for Kentucky basketball.
A budding partnership. And by the way, Patino's showing off the legs in that picture, by the way. I don't know how ancient that photo is, but he looks good. I got to give me some shorts like that once it warms up a little bit.
Hey, now is that game, that St. John's, Arkansas game, is that the Kentucky Bowl since they both coached at Kentucky, or is that the Mike Anderson Bowl since Mike Anderson coached at both?
Yeah, I think you're probably going to get more people voting for the Kentucky one, but I like the fact that Mike Anderson can be involved here. Mike Anderson, one of the nicest guys in the history of coaching, and I'm glad he gets a mention. But I think more people are going to equate it with Kentucky. That's my guess. But
yeah, I'm afraid you're probably right. But, I think you're sentiments regarding Coach Anderson are spot on. Absolutely. Blake Lovell of Southeastern 16 joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by TOA of Columbia. Blake, as always, we appreciate your time and look forward to catching up with you here over the next couple of weeks.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports today, guys, as the weekend warm-up continues from the Murphy Center here, where Alcoa leads Jackson County 22-13 with just under 4 minutes remaining in the first half. So we'll keep you up to date on this and everything else going on hardwoods across the country when we come back.
Only in Smashville are opponents welcomed with some good old-fashioned Southern hospitality. We'll give you a hand, cheer you on. Hey, we'll even leave a light on.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
The weekend warm-up continues here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. As we continue from the Murphy Center, where Alcoa leads Jackson County 24-13 with about 2.5 minutes left in the first half of this Class 2A semifinal matchup. The winner will catch Loretto, a 59-47 winner over Tyner in the earlier Class 2A semifinal game. That championship game will take place at 1:30 tomorrow right here in the Glass House. So some champions will be crowned tomorrow, Wade. The college basketball level has to wait a little longer.
Yep, and we will hand out some hardware tomorrow, and you can pretty much, I feel confident tomorrow morning, Death, Texas, and Chattanooga Prep basketball. That's how we'll start today. And then we'll just see what happens with 2A and beyond. Alcoa trying to make a run for 3 in a row. Loretto trying to make a run at unbeaten. What did Coach Tip say the other day? First public school in 17 years trying to go undefeated since Union City 17 years ago, I believe. So a chance to maybe make some history there. And I'm sure some other storylines will emerge between now and then, because we still got a whole slew of other semifinal games to throw down on today.
Absolutely. Again, this is the second of the 2A semifinal games. That'll be followed in 3A by Upperman and Greenville. at 4 o'clock. Tullahoma and Fayette Ware at 5:30. And then in 4A, you've got Bradley Central and Hillsboro at 7:15. And in the nightcap, it's Oak Ridge and Whitehaven at 8:45, which, by the way, is 9:45 Oak Ridge time.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on just to see if that is some sort of a factor, really. Again, a lot of hoops going on. From the NCAA ranks, Memphis has cut a 10-point deficit to 8. They trail Colorado State 64-56 with just under 8 to play in that one. Vanderbilt and St. Mary's are tied at the 11-10 mark. And you can see that one on True TV. Colorado State and Memphis are on TBS. Duke has doubled up Mount St. Mary's at the under 4 mark of the first half. That's 45-22 Duke in that one. We've got some finals too, don't we, from today? Yes, we do, and including one unfortunate one as number 3 Iowa State took care of 14th seed Lipscomb 82-55. Also Alabama with that 90-81 win over Robert Morris that we mentioned while we were talking to Blake a second ago. And 9-seed Baylor defeats 8-seed Mississippi State 75-72.
Pour one out for Jay Walton. Ran into our buddy yesterday, and he was fired up to see if his Bulldogs could, win that game and then maybe give a run at Duke. Wasn't meant to be. Baylor played pretty well, and Memphis is kind of hanging in there. This is by far the trendiest upset pick.
Yeah.
And right now, it's looking as if Colorado State, who's one of the hottest teams in the country, will be able to hang on. Real quick, though, Mo, I wanted to give a quick shout-out last night. Utah State, they went down in their game and really kind of got walloped. But how about the local Pulaski connection? Sheila Frost, that name ring a bell. Her son, Tucker Anderson, was out there. He was the former Atlantic Sun Freshman of the Year at Central Arkansas. He transferred to Utah State. He had 3 points as a starter last night, but not a lot of points were scored as they kind of got steamrolled in their game. But it was cool to see the somewhat pride of Pulaski out there on the court, on the big stage.
The legacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I was unaware of that.
And he's got a couple of years remaining, which, as the story goes in college basketball, I'll be curious to see if he spends the rest of those years all at
Utah State.
Utah State, yes. Freshman of the Year at Central Arkansas last year, and kind of, at least for one night, got to shine on the spotlight a little bit there with P-Town.
Wow. On the women's side, number 2 seed TCU trailing 15 seed Fairleigh Dickinson 17-14 at halftime. Oh, I'm sorry. At the end of the first quarter. There we go. I forget quarters for women. That going back and forth kind of confuses me. Baylor, also number 4 Baylor trailing 13 seed Grand Canyon late in the first quarter, 14-13. Kansas State, the 5 seed, all over 12 seed Fairfield, 61-31 late in the third in that one. So the women's tournament has cranked up as well. Got some finals over there. Again, Wade's Wolverines, the number 6 seed, held on against Audie Crooks on 11 seed Iowa State, 80-74, the final there. Number 3 seed Notre Dame comes out with a 106-54 win over 14 seed Stephen F. Austin. Kentucky struggled with Liberty, held on for a 79-78 win there. And number 9, Indiana, holds off number 8, Utah, 76-68.
Yeah, been some good games. And Notre Dame, you just mentioned, talk about a fall from grace. This was the number 1 team in the country just a few short weeks ago, and then now they're reduced to just the 3 seed. But they took out that frustration. They're kind of a sheep pick by some folks to maybe make a run and get to the Final Four. And then you mentioned Liberty, fresh off a CUSA tournament win, gave Kentucky all they wanted and then some. Made a valiant comeback in the fourth quarter to try and get that game. Had a chance late, could not pull it off. Would have been one of the great upsets. But the Wildcats hang on and punch their ticket into the next round.
Absolutely. That would have been a huge win, both for Liberty and for Conference USA, especially coming behind Middle's win last year in the opening round against Louisville. So that would have been 2 years in a row for Conference USA to punch somebody in the mouth early, and Liberty just missed on its opportunity at Memorial Gym on the campus of the University of Kentucky to cash in there. Speaking of cashing in, $6.1 billion with a B is what the Boston Celtics sold for to Bill Chisholm, managing partner and co-founder of Symphony Technology Group out of California. $6.1 billion.
Ooh, that's a lot of double cheeseburgers, my friend. And we wondered what that price would be. You know, we talked about the value of franchises, and when they went up for sale fresh after winning the championship, figured storied franchise, great roster intact, great management, front office kind of intact. Felt like it would fetch a pretty penny, but my goodness, that is a lot of bucks.
Yeah, it's more than I got laying around, to say the least. So still has to be approved by the NBA's Board of Governors. I don't know why it wouldn't be, but, I mean, guys got $6.1 billion laying around. You might as well take it, right?
Well, you don't want to end up like the Nashville Cats, right, where you're having to take one of your owners to court because they don't actually have the money. So we at least got to make sure that the money is there and the money's good and accounted for. Adam Silver knows what he's doing. He's a former attorney, so he's making sure he got his legalese squared away before they really approve that thing.
We hope from the beginning to find the right person with the resources and commitment to win banners and being a great person. That is from Wick Grusbeck, the, I guess, current owner of the Celtics, regarding Chisholm. So Bill checks every box for us. I've always been a consultant and have had final say here with the Celtics since the family bought into the team, and that will continue for the next 3 years, and we will transition. So there's that.
Highest price in North American sports, which is safe for now. You figure until the next mega franchise goes up, whenever that is. We saw the Commanders get sold for $6.05 billion last year, and they were only valued at $4 billion. So, and then the Suns were sold for $4 billion. So it's price is going up if you want to get in the market to buy one of these big boys.
Yeah, if you want to do it, you better do it now because what is it they say? Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Yeah. Now you're talking.
Yeah. You heard anything about this Pacers Nets dust up from yesterday?
Well, when you heard about a Pacers dust up, I immediately harkened back to a bygone era. You're telling me there's a new one?
No, yes. This was not Malice in the Palace.
No.
No.
I haven't seen this just yet.
Apparently, Andrew Nembhard and Rudy Gobert got into it. Oh, this was Monday. Okay, wait a minute. Hold up. Okay, so the Pacers have gotten into it twice in a week with two different teams.
Okay, I was wondering how Gobert was involved here.
Yeah. So Nembhard and Gobert got into it Monday when Indiana took on the Timberwolves.
Okay.
Last night, it was, again, the Pacers and the Nets. Trendon Watford taking on Nembhard after a Benedict Mathurin layup. Watford goes for Nembhard. Miles Turner jumps in to try to protect his teammate, and it's on like Donkey Kong. Apparently, Watford ejected technicals for Nembhard and Turner. Was it a full moon last night or something?
I don't know, but man, yeah, Miles Turner, to get him going, you really had to do something. That's one of the most laid back guys ever. He says his only hobbies are basketball and going home and building his Legos. That's all he likes to do. So he's about as laid back of a dude as there is. So when you get Miles Turner going, it must have been worthy.
Well, he must have stepped on one, and maybe that's what set him off.
Man, yeah, somebody touched his Titanic set and absolutely ruined that thing, which I don't necessarily blame him. As many pieces are in that bad boy. But, man, yeah, this is, the Pacers trying to maybe get bolster their rep. They're battling with the Bucks on that 4 or 5 seed line. Maybe they're trying to get a little extra panache about them as they head into the postseason.
Speaking of the Bucks, The Bucks give up a career-high 17 points to Bronny James last night, but hang on for a 118-89 win.
Man, didn't think we would ever see the day, right? I mean,
7 of 10 from the floor was young Mr. James.
Where is this? I've got this here. Let's enter the time portal. I'm going to read you 2 quotes. One from January 29th. I am pleading with LeBron as a father. Stop this. I'm going to read you a quote from this morning. I've always believed that this kid has had the potential once I watched him to be in the NBA. That was said by the same guy.
Person.
That was Stephen A. Smith, of course. So he's prone to change his tune, which is his right, of course. But he's, putting up a career high. Considering where now you have to kind of, reevaluate things in a sense, considering where they got him and what he's produced, at least for that game and a few other token appearances here. Dare I say, decent value at this point. We knew we would be counting on a James to lead the Lakers late in the season. We just didn't necessarily know it would be Bronny James, like we saw last night, which is crazy.
Unreal. Hour number 1 of the weekend warm-up has come to a close here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back for hour number 2 here from the Murphy Center on the campus of Middle Tennessee State, we'll be getting into the grab bag. Stick around.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilai Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today. Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Hour number 2 of the weekend warm-up here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Gets going right now. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. We're coming to you from the Murphy Center here on the campus of Middle Tennessee State University, where we are watching the Class 2A Boys Basketball State Tournament semifinals. And Alcoa leads Jackson County, I hesitate to say comfortably, but 29-13. as we head into the third quarter.
Looking pretty comfortable, as is Colorado State, Mo, who has now opened up a 13-point lead on Memphis, their biggest lead of the night, and only about 2.5 to play. Does Penny fly back, or does he just roam the streets, staring off in the distance? Again, Memphis, again, they were the 5 seed. They got a lot going for them, but, man, Colorado State was a very chic pick.
They really were. Everybody was
guts.
on
I went
that.
with Memphis, man. I let Verno and the guys over there talk me into the Tigers, and I'm kind of cursing right now.
I hate when that happens. I mean, when you come up with the guts to go with a 12 seed and then get talked off of it, and then they win, that's tough.
And what's sad is I watched Colorado State. You take care of business versus Boise. They beat Boise 3 times. I watched the game on Saturday in the championship. In the Mountain West Championship. And I said, man, I really like this Colorado State team. And then 3 days later, here I am picking Memphis. I'm going to have to scratch one off.
That's unfortunate. We talked to Heather Williams a couple of days ago when we were talking NASCAR and talking Vegas about Christopher Bell's heads-up move pitting in a teammate's pit box to get a loose wheel tightened up. And it was a lesser of a penalty than it would have been had he actually taken the track. Well, apparently NASCAR passed out some guidance or some further clarification on that situation this week as they get ready to go to Homestead this weekend. And I guess if it's specifically for a safety reason, there is a different sort of penalty that could be assessed as opposed to you going in for competitive adjustments. So it's kind of saying that we reserve the right to look at this situation, and depending on why you pitted in somebody else's box other than your own will kind of dictate how much of a penalty you receive. So interesting.
Yeah, kind of like what we saw, we're parallel, but what we saw with Oregon, Ohio State last year, where once a team does it, the committee goes back and says, hey, we can't let this happen. And so NASCAR, in some regards, props to them, I guess, for saying, hey, all right, we do need to have at least a provision in here for reasons kind of like this. But you don't necessarily know until somebody takes advantage, and Christopher Bell took advantage.
There you go. So, again, and made it work for him at that point. I mean, didn't lose as much as he would have had he gone back on the track in that situation, as Heather was apprising us when we talked about this the other day. So, heads up move for him, and, good for NASCAR to kind of look at it and say, hey, let's kind of make sure everybody knows what we're dealing with here and how we're going to deal with it should it come back up again.
Right. And, who knows if this would have happened exactly the way it played out again. Who knows if it would have kind of been a real emergency situation. It's at least nice to have it on the books. But, yeah, sometimes you just don't know till things kind of get presented. And props to officials for making the necessary adjustments. And props, as we said many times with Heather, props to Christopher Bell's team for taking advantage of that.
No doubt. Rule clarifications, rule changes. The NFL is discussing with their competition committee some changes on the field and in the standings, I guess. Obviously, the tush push has come under a lot of scrutiny. The Green Bay Packers specifically have proposed a rule change that would prohibit an offensive player from pushing a teammate who was lined up directly behind the snapper and receives the snap immediately at the snap. The Packers say that they want this change because of player safety and pace of play.
Yeah, I would counter with this. The Bills tried this in the postseason and were shut down. Not every team executes this as well as the Eagles. And so that would be my argument is, hey, this is one team that's just got this thing kind of down and is able to execute it at this high level. Feels like a little sour grapes from the Packers. They're not the only team. The Falcons kind of have expressed some concern, especially Coach Morris saying that he wasn't a fan. And then I find this funny that Sean McDermott says that there is an injury risk associated. And, yeah, I suppose he's got an argument because we saw Allen, absolutely crunched on that fourth down there that ended up costing them their season. I don't know. I'm of the camp, hey, this is by all accounts a legal play. It just feels like sour grapes to me at the moment.
Packers president.
What's your take on that?
Well, I'm having a tough time getting my head wrapped around the whole thing. I kind of tend to lean toward Mark Murphy, the Packers president and CEO. There's no skill involved, and it's almost an automatic first down on plays of a yard or less. I'd like to see the league prohibit pushing or aiding the runner on this play. There used to be a rule prohibiting this, but it is no longer enforced because I believe it was thought to be too hard for the officials to see. The play is bad for the game, and we should go back to prohibiting the push of the runner.
I was going to say, what happens on plays where forward progress is not stopped and everybody kind of piles? I mean, that's one of the fun plays, right, is when you got the offensive linemen that are shoving the running back forward for an extra yard or two.
And, I don't know if the difference is that kind of takes place within the play, and this is a play that's designed that way. I don't know what the distinction is between the two, but I see what you're saying, and
feels like the Packers are just bringing this up, and the Falcons, I guess, to an extent. Their quarterback ain't squatting 600 pounds. If their quarterback was squatting 600 pounds, this might be a different situation, right?
So what you're saying is get your weight up.
Yeah, get the weight up, man. I mean, go get you a Hertz. Or better yet, doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the quarterback that's snapping it. Just get anybody back there.
The Eagles, while they would be okay with the tush push staying in place, they want the playoff overtime rules in the regular season, where both teams get to touch the ball regardless.
Talk about pace of play.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a complete – I'm all for more football. Give me as much. I'm in favor of, hey, let's just play a whole 15 minutes and just see what the score is at the end. And then if we got to, flip a coin, however you want to do it. I'm in favor of more. But I don't necessarily know the answers to this. It does feel like they're very close. And it also feels like we just kind of got used to these new overtime rules. And now all of a sudden, right when we finally kind of landed in a nice safe spot and we got everything kind of committed to memory, we don't need the graphic at the start almost every time. And it feels like now they're trying to change it on us.
This past season, the team that won the coin toss prior to overtime went 12-4. So,
I mean, remember that the Monday Night Football, the Baker Mayfield game against the Chiefs, they have a chance to go and win it and go for two. They elect to go to overtime, and they lose the coin toss, and Baker just hangs his head, and then they never got the ball. I mean, it was a wrap at that point.
Yeah, so be careful. Meanwhile, the Detroit Lions have requested that postseason seeding be based strictly on records rather than the top four, your division champions being the 1 through 4, and then your wild cards automatically being 5, 6, and 7. Now, this Detroit won their division by virtue of that late season victory over Minnesota that dropped the Vikings to the number 5 seed. Under the Lions' proposal, the Vikings would have been the number 2 seed. So doing a division for a solid here, they're trying to necessarily. I mean, Detroit's reasoning: competitive equity provides excitement and competition in late season games, rewards the best performing teams from the regular season. So, and I guess maybe Detroit is saying, hey, that could have been us going from 1 to 5.
That's what I was thinking, exactly. Hey, we came out on the right side of it this time. We might not be so lucky next go around, and we would have to be in a really tough situation. And so that's the way I interpret that. And I go back and forth to this. Part of me totally gets that, and part of me feels like the NFL is going to be very resistant to this because they laud we reward our division winners so much. There's a lot of franchises that wouldn't have much to celebrate if they couldn't hang those division title banners because they ain't got much else to hang up, right? So, I mean, it feels like they're trying to preserve that in a sense. Otherwise, why even have divisions at this point? Let's just,
Well, I think divisions are
like
as much
NBA.
for scheduling as anything.
Right.
Though,
NBA is pretty much the same way. I mean, divisions are virtually meaningless in that regard. So why not just seed them the way they finish? I kind of get that. I do get the competitive equity part.
Yeah. Vanderbilt has opened up a 9-point lead on St. Mary's over there.
Playing well.
27-18. The Commodores are up. Where are we?
I think midway through the first half. Little guys versus the big guys. Playing well.
Yeah, 2 minutes remaining in the first half. Vandy 27-18. Ole Miss up 14-10 on North Carolina. Duke continuing to handle Mount St. Mary's 54-28. And Colorado State is final.
CSU is final, 78-70.
78-70, Colorado State. Another 12, getting another 5. Sorry, Wade.
That's all right. John Roser, you're my crosshairs, buddy. That's the last time I listened to him with the time. Him and Verno and Parrish got me this year. I ain't falling for it next time.
Ouch. I don't know what it is about football players at the University of Georgia and motor vehicles, but they don't seem to mix very well.
Oh?
You've had 2 more kids that have been suspended indefinitely after allegedly being charged with reckless driving. Nitro Toggle, a sophomore wide receiver, Marquez Easley, a redshirt freshman offensive lineman, have been suspended from all team activities indefinitely. Tuggle was arrested early Thursday morning on reckless driving and speeding charges. Easley was driving recklessly near an apartment complex in Athens, lost control of his car, crashed into a power distribution box. Car spun out, hit a different car, crashed into an apartment building. Yeah.
Excuse me?
Yeah. A lot of damage.
But I have a couple questions. First of all, you said Nitro Tuggle?
Nitro Toggle.
All right, if that's your name, I got some questions at the DMV. I'm a little nervous about issuing a license to a guy named Nitro. On the football field, that obviously invokes a different type of emotion. But, if you're riding in the car with Nitro, I'm feeling a little anxious. I'm just going to say that. And then crashing into an apartment complex, that doesn't seem like your everyday run-of-the-mill traffic citation.
No, and I'm kind of interested in how your insurance responds to that.
I saw a lot of wild things just a couple blocks down the road here at Campus Crossings in my time, and I don't remember any vehicles smashing into the apartment complex. Scarlet Commons, wasn't getting smashed into over here by the student athletes at MTSU.
Oh, goodness. We had a lot going on campus when I was here, but no, I don't remember any. I don't remember any vehicular lodging situations.
No, and I mean, this furthers the case, too. Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming out supposedly any couple months now whenever Rockstar finally gets its act together. And, I mean, the memes are continuing. Georgia Theft Auto is essentially because these guys are just running wild on the roadways. I mean, be safe if you're down there. And if you're Georgia, I don't know, Nitro, just Nitro. That makes me wonder. All gas, no brakes. It definitely applies to the Georgia Bulldogs.
Thoughts on the U.S. men's national team dropping a 1-0 decision to Panama?
Didn't watch any of it. Kept up loosely with it. Losing 1-0, obviously not going to inspire a ton of confidence. Felt like they probably should have, at minimum, gotten a point in that CONCACAF Champions or Nations League, I guess, game yesterday. Kind of doesn't mean a lot in the grand scheme of things, but with Pochettino kind of pulling the strings, you would certainly have liked to have had a better showing. Clay Trainham is an official statistician. We went down. He could have done 2 hours on this game last night. I guarantee you that. But luckily, he's down and keeping stats for the TSSAA here. But not a great result, and hopefully push it behind him.
Does this create some concern with the Pochettino reign?
No, not yet, because if this were a World Cup qualifier, which is good news, U.S. is not going to have to worry about because we're hosting the next one.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, maybe that's what I should be thinking. But no, it feels like, as long as we kind of round into form heading into that 26 World Cup, we'll be in decent shape. But you don't want to just necessarily start a string of performances or string of losses like this.
Tennessee falls again on the diamond, dropping a 6-5 decision to Alabama in the opening game of that series last night down in Tuscaloosa. Tennessee led 3-0. Alabama scored 6. And then Tennessee came back with a pair, I think, in the top of the 7th, but couldn't get any closer. So Tennessee with back-to-back losses after 20 straight to start the season.
I mean, it's fair to ask, will they win again the rest of this season?
Woe are the Volunteers, apparently.
I mean, Vols fans are wondering, will this team ever win a game again? And all jokes aside, you do want to rally for at least, at a minimum, one win in this series because we know how competitive it's going to be. You will not be happy with losing 2 out of 3, but you will be really, really disappointed. Maybe not even right now. You won't necessarily be disappointed right now. You'll be frustrated right now if you lost all 3 to Alabama. But you might be really kicking yourself at the end of the season because it feels like this is a league that's going to end up getting decided by 1 or 2 games at the most, right?
No doubt. No doubt.
Too late?
No, you're just fine. We're going to get you a chair here in just a second. We're going to go to a break here on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Middle Tennessee State women's basketball coach Rick INSELL. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
You're seeing the signs too, right?
What signs?
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
The weekend warm-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, as we come to you from the Murphy Center site of the TSSAA Boys Basketball State Championships. Alcoa leads Jackson County 45-25 with about 6 minutes remaining in regulation of this Class 2A semifinal matchup. Again, the winner takes on Loretto, undefeated Loretto, in tomorrow's 1:30 championship game. Joining us is a guy who's no stranger to this floor, and no stranger to this floor even before it became his home court. Rick INSELL, coach of the Middle Tennessee State Lady Raiders, joining us here. And for the uninitiated, before becoming the women's basketball coach at MTSU, Rick won a game or two on this floor as coach of the Shelbyville Central Golden Eaglettes, a powerhouse. And I hesitate to say a Tennessee powerhouse, a national powerhouse during their heyday. Rick, thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate it. Always fun having you on.
Love you, Maurice. I mean, you've been with me a long time, Shelbyville and here. So,
well, tough end to the season for you guys between the 53-48 loss down at Huntsville in the Conference USA Championship game on Saturday to Liberty, and the WBIT matchup with Belmont last night, a 64-51 defeat to end the season there against a team that kind of had y'all's number this year. That was the second time they got you.
They got a good team, and Bart does a great job. They've got good players. They're very disciplined. They got great shooters. They're the type of team that they gave us problems because they had fives that could go out on the perimeter and shoot threes and shoot them well. And we had to bring our big kid out from underneath the basket. And when we did that, it kind of opened up the driving lanes. And it's just one of those matchups that was tough for us. But, it was a great game. If we had put the ball in the hole, we went, I think it's about 8 minutes there, we didn't score a basket. And in that 8 minutes, I'm telling you, they never quit. They were so disciplined. They just kept getting it to the person that they wanted to get it to, and they made shots, and that's what competitors do, and that's what you do with the championship program, and that's what we've done for years and years and years, and they did the same thing to us that we've done to a lot of teams.
And when you do have to pull Anastasia out from the rim, she gives you so much down there defensively that when she's not, it just changes everything for you guys defensively.
Well, she was Defensive Player of the Year in our conference, and I felt like Jalen Gregory I felt like our best defensive player. But Nas, when you had her down low, she could block shots, she could rebound. But we started all of our scouting reports with figuring out who was the best player on the perimeter, and that's where we stuck Jalen Gregory.
Coach, as this season kind of progressed, we saw that kind of some ups, and we certainly saw some downs toward the end. But Mo and I were talking about the women's NCAA tournament and Liberty's performance. Can you kind of put into words how tough Conference USA was?
Well,
you guys have been the gold standard for so long, but other teams are kind of right there nipping at your heels.
Well, you had New Mexico State, La Tech, and you had Liberty. Western Kentucky's got a good team. I'll be honest with you. I'd rather play Liberty again as played Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky was another one that had a five that could shoot and great perimeter players. And, it was one of those situations. Our last 4 or 5 games, you take Western, take Liberty, and then you take last night Belmont, and you go before that. We had I think FIU at home. We had to go to FIU and had to go to Liberty. So with about 5 or 6 games in a row, we had to show up, and we did. Most of them won the conference, but I'm telling you, it was tough. It was tough. It was a tough year. The competition was great. I was really proud of our players. We won 26 games, and I couldn't be more proud of what they did. Nas and Jalen have been with me now for 4 years. Kev came back, and then Tamia Scott, just unbelievable on the perimeter also. So, I'm really happy with them. I wanted to win last night, and I wanted to be in the NCAA tournament. And that gets to be a little bummer when you're going to one of your goals is to get an NCAA tournament. You get beat 4 or 5 points, knowing that if you'd have hit a few more shots, you're there. Then you got to go play the WBIT. And in some cases, way back, Bobby Knight and some of those guys said, it's like kissing your sister. But you got to show up and play. And they did. We showed up, and Belmont showed up. It was a great game last night.
Rick, you talk about it being a bummer when you miss out. I would imagine it's particularly a bummer when you get used to being there and it becomes the standard. Like Wade said, you almost feel like it's where you're supposed to be.
Well, you look at what happened today, Maurice. Liberty nearly beat Kentucky. And being the women's coach, I follow all the teams across. I felt like we could have beat Kentucky. I told people that I felt like Liberty could have beat Kentucky today, and Kentucky did a shot to go up 1 to win the game. So, and then Liberty was out with their best player, which was a Boone kid. She got hurt early, so they played them to 1 point without their best player. So that gives you that tells you a little bit about our conference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of to Wade's point. During your tenure here, you've kind of watched this conference come up, I guess.
Well, we were in the Sun Belt, and we got to dominate it, and then we moved to Conference USA. I'm not going to say we dominated Conference USA, but we've won a lot of games. Mm-hmm. And, it's a great conference. I think you got 31, 32 conferences, and the Conference USA right now is like 11th or 12th best conference in the country. So we're in the top third. And, that's a big plus. You recruit to that. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be the 26th conference or the 21st conference, So where we're at, we're saying, hey, and we recruit against the Power Fours. And one of the things we sell is Murphy Center, sell our crowd base. This community, you're 20 minutes south of Nashville. And then our academic side here is unbelievable. When we start breaking it down and getting into the academics, it's unbelievable what we can offer young ladies and young men that come here and want to get a great education.
Rick, you mentioned Courtney Blakely, your senior point guard. And I don't know that I've had a chance to ask you, but I've been fascinated by her journey. She comes here, she plays a year, she transfers to Arizona, she comes back. What was the conversation like as y'all are discussing her coming back? She gets back into the transfer portal out of Arizona. How does that transpire?
Well, she left really on good terms. When she left, I think she was going for the money, to be honest with you. I don't know that, but I think that was why she was going. And maybe it was also that, hey, I'm going to get to play in the Power 4. At that time, it's Power 5. Mm-hmm. Well, she gets out there, and we were in the tournament with them last year in the Bahamas, and she was talking. She did more socializing with our kids than she did with their kids.
Yeah.
So when the portal came up this time last year, same time, her name showed up. And the next thing I know, Kim Bruton and Matt was coming to me saying, hey, Blakely would like to come back. She'd like to talk to us. I said, well, talk to her, figure it out, see what's going on. And, they did. And she came back. And, I won't say that the grass was greener, but I will say that what we said we would do, we do. I don't think what they said they would do that they did. So that was a situation. And she's been a model student. She's been a model student athlete. She comes to practice. She works hard. Goes into every game. Gives you a chance. She got her quickness is unbelievable. And her shooting got better by the end of the year. But if you go back and look at her record, she was one of the all-time leading scorers in the state of Indiana. Mm-hmm. So she's got a bright future ahead of her.
It's interesting. I think Nick has a guy who left and came back as well. Does he not, or did he not?
I think he might have entered the portal.
Okay.
And then came back.
Came back out of the portal.
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking there was somebody that went to UT Martin maybe and then came back. I'm not sure. But, yeah, I just think that's, admirable on everybody's part that, know no bridges got burned or anything like that when she left.
Well, one of the things that we pride ourselves on, and we're family. All my coaches have got kids. Kids are around all the time, as you well see. It's just it's a great place to go to college. You know, it's safe. I mean, it's just so many positives. It's just I could sit here all day and sell you, put a recruiting pitch on you. But when the parents leave here, they entrust their kids to us, and you know they got to send them somewhere, and they're going to be away from them. So you know, and then a lot of people think that we're going to be down next year. I think we're going to have a pretty good bunch next year, to be honest with you.
You know what? I saw one of your signees back in mid-January, I guess, Miss Basketball in Class 1A, Blair Vargas out of Wayne County.
Yep.
I'm excited to see her up here because I want to see what you're going to do with her. I mean, is she going to be a 1? Is she going to be a 2? Is she going to be a 3? Because it looks like to me she can play them all.
Well, probably going to work her the 3-4 with the way we play. Her, and we got a young lady out of Mississippi, Gatorade Player of the Year out of Mississippi. Now Ole Miss and Mississippi State's come in on her, but she's hanging in there with us, Macy Pfeiffer, and she's unbelievable talent too. We got a young lady out of Kansas, we got a young lady out of Heritage, we got a young lady out of Alabama. We're pretty, and then we got the big kid, the 6'10" kid coming out of Spain.
That's right.
So,
and you've still got a bunch of folks coming back. Tamia Scott among them.
Oh yeah, we got some young players that are Jada Harrison. Emily Monson, Savannah Davis. I think it's got an unbelievable future. I just tell you, she can shoot the heck out of the basketball. She gets it off quick. She's heady, and she's got a little way to go defensively. But so is everybody else. That's a freshman. You know, and we had to play her as a 4 this year. Now she's not a 4. We didn't recruit her as a 4. We recruited her as a 1-2. So that tells you a little bit about her being a team player. Coming in, the only reason we beat Western is we brought her in. She had like 4 or 5 shots.
Coach, you just rattled off all of those impressive names that are getting ready to come in and players that are coming back. What does your off season, what will your next few weeks look like? Do you even give yourself time to relax, or are you just right back to it?
Well, the NCAA requires you to give them off 2 weeks.
Okay.
So we won't be able to touch them till 2 weeks. But when we come back, we've kind of changed everything because now we don't do any off-season work much because when they come back in 2 weeks, you're looking at the first or second week in April. Well, they graduate in May, so when the end of April, which you got 1 week ready to work with them, the end of April, you got to give them that study time. That's required by our university. So what we do now is we'll let them work the strength and conditioning. We don't do a lot of skill work, and then when we come back the 1st of June, at that point we'll put the pedal to the metal. We'll give them the whole month of May off, and you know they're working on their own.
Right.
Many of them got their own trainers that are back home, and they're working on their own. And when they come back in May, at that point, we got 4 hours a week with them that we've got. The strength conditioning's got 4 hours. We got 4 hours, so we'll put that to use. And during that time, they're working with camp. They're selling the program to the community at that point. So the month of May is about it for them. The month of May for me is busy as I'll get out because I'm out raising money, going to conference meetings, and trying to take a few days of vacation with my grandkids.
Which are important, obviously.
No doubt.
And that's why I wondered. I knew you were ultra fiery, ultra competitive, so I just wanted to at least make sure you was taking a little time for yourself there, Coach.
I live for those. I got 13. And I just 2 of them just left me down there. You saw them in the office a minute ago, Maurice. But that's one of the reasons that I'm probably going to get out next year, be honest with you. And that way I can spend time going and watching them play. When you're working here and you're a head coach, you don't get any time off. And I want to be able to go see Clark, and I want to go see Parsons and Charlie, and Caroline's playing now at Cascade. And
oh goodness,
I got another young lady, Bryn, playing at Sparta. So, and then I got my grandson. I've told you about him at Cannon County. You know,
football player.
Yeah, he's football. Every time he touches the football, he runs a touchdown. So I'm real proud of all of them.
That's awesome. Rick INSELL, the women's basketball coach here at Middle Tennessee State, gracious enough to join us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I want to ask you, Rick, you're a coach. Do you have a bracket?
No.
Okay.
No.
Do you have a men's bracket?
No.
Okay.
No, I don't. I follow all the teams in the women's bracket, and I'm going to the Final Four.
Okay.
I'm taking some of my good friends. John Floyd's going down. Greg Jones is going down with us. We're going to play golf. And Matt, Tom, and myself have paid for a suite. We're going to play golf during the day. We're going to eat with our wives. And then we're going to go watch the Final Four women's. And on Friday night and Sunday and come back home Sunday night. So
there you go.
Coach, you just mentioned his name. Give me your best Tom Hodges story. That's a guy that was, believe it or not, he was an instructor of mine when I was an undergrad student here. So I'm curious your take on the legendary Coach Hodges there.
I'm going to tell you, he's unreal. He's very loyal. He's a family man. He's a Christian man. He's just an unbelievable person, and he's a good coach.
I'm going to interrupt you for a second because he may not be the best coach in his house.
I'm going to let you talk about that. Hillary's a good coach. I mean, she's proven that.
Mm-hmm.
But Tom and his family, they're an asset. Matt and his family, Kim and her family, Nina Davis, Courtney Whitson. I'm telling you, go into my office and you don't get to talk to my secretary, because if you come into my office, as you well know, Maurice, all of them are out there talking to you.
Yeah.
And that our community is invested in those coaches, and they are invested in our community. And you've been to our Next Level Club luncheons. They're just they're just unbelievable supporters.
Absolutely, and I think that's what, kind of like you surmised a minute ago, that's really one of the selling points of this thing. I mean, it goes beyond you. It goes beyond the players and the staff. I mean, it is truly a program that I don't especially know at this level of school and in this kind of conference. I don't know that you find that really anywhere else.
Well, last night at Belmont, it was 2-1 crowd-wise middle.
I mean, I'm not shocked.
Right. I really hated it for our supporters because – it never crossed my mind that they would be there. I knew they would be there. And for us not to get a win, I kind of feel sad. I really feel sad, not only for my coaching staff, my players, but also our supporters.
Rick INSELL, Lady Raider basketball coach, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. Coach, as always, we appreciate it. Appreciate you. And enjoy whatever time off you do manage to get here over the next little bit.
Well, I'm planning on playing a little golf Sunday if the weather presents
weather
itself.
permitting.
Yeah.
There we go.
But that'll be a first.
Well,
Unless Chris calls and I have to do something.
Well, hit them straight.
All right.
Hey,
thank you,
Coach.
guys. Thank y'all.
Hey, let's take a break. We'll be back for the final segment here on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Stick around.
Only in Smashville are opponents welcomed with some good old-fashioned Southern hospitality. We'll give you a hand, cheer you on. Hey, we'll even leave a light on.
Forgot that. Hey, let's go Stros.
People are amazed at the variety and quality of guests we bring into Main Street Sports today. But when you've been in this business for nearly 40 years and you never throw away a phone number, it's pretty easy. Right, Wade?
Absolutely. And Wynn agrees with me. Check out some of our guests featured on Main Street Sports today.
step back and catch my breath. But I expect nothing less from you, big boy. Let's get going.
We make it work pretty good. So
the fans are tremendous. It's fantastic.
It was really amazing.
They call it performance unit. Yeah.
From preps to pros, you never know who's going to stop by, so be sure to listen to and watch Main Street Sports Today from 2 to 4 p.m. daily on the MSM TV app. It is the final segment of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We are getting ready to get into the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. Obviously, that's about the biggest thing going on this weekend, but there's plenty more. But before we go any further, I need to mention, and Wade, I'm not sure, you might have seen it. We had some news yesterday. If you go to MainStreetMurray.com, we've talked a lot about the Santa Fe boys basketball program. Class 1A squad, they just had a Mr. Basketball, the first Mr. Basketball out of Murray County, Alden Slaughter. They just made their second state tournament trip in as many years. Well, they lost Wednesday to Chattanooga Prep in the state quarterfinals, the same team that knocked them out in the semifinals last year. Yesterday, after 7 years at the helm of that program, 2001 Santa Fe graduate Brad Slaughter announced that he would be resigning as coach. Again, we've got coverage of that on the website at mainstreetmurray.com. A little unexpected on one hand, but on the other hand, again, his son Alden Slaughter, who leaves as the number 3 all-time scorer in Tennessee boys high school basketball history, has signed with Volunteer State, which is in Gallatin. And if you've ever tried to get from Columbia to Gallatin, you can see why he might want a little extra time to try to get up there.
Yeah, I'm with you. On one hand, I was kind of surprised when I saw your news yesterday. And then on the other hand, I was kind of not surprised. Seems like the perfect time to kind of ride off in the sunset. And it seems like you could not have taken that program any further. Obviously you'd love to be sitting here talking about a gold ball on Saturday, whether it's this year or last year. But they were worthy of being on this state tournament stage the last 2 seasons. Ain't no doubt about that. So, like I said, on one hand, was kind of stunned by it. On the other hand, kind of not surprised, and certainly wish Brad and his family nothing but the best. He took a very, very downtrodden program and not just made them relevant, made them kind of a staple in Class A basketball for the last couple of seasons.
Really did, man. I mean, he said it in the post-game press conference down there on Wednesday. Santa Fe had won 1 basketball game in the 2 years before he took it over. I looked back. With his first win in his first season, he snapped a 39-game losing streak for Santa Fe. To go from snapping a 39-game losing streak to making back-to-back state tournament appearances in 7 years, yeah, he put they put Santa Fe basketball on the map on a statewide level. And I mean, Christian Collins, the Chattanooga Prep coach, last year when he talked about Santa Fe, this year when he talked about Santa Fe, you could see the respect that he had. And this is a guy who's at that time was getting ready to win a state championship, and right now looks like he's getting ready to win another one. But nothing but respect for that program, and I think that there are a boatload of other people that feel the same way about it.
Yeah, it seems like it's going to be met with praise across the board. And the other interesting angle of all this, obviously, coaching your son is certainly not an easy thing, and coaching a superstar is not an easy thing. And just because you're a single A team, just because you have a kind of transcendent star, doesn't always mean you get to this level, right? I mean, he talked about the goal. Some teams talk about and coaches talk about when they take over, their goal is to get to the state tournament. His goal is just to be competitive and to win a district title for the first time since the 70s.
73.
Yeah, first time since 73. So, I mean, that kind of puts in perspective the rebuild job we're talking about. And now, in theory, you left it in a much better place than you received it. Who knows what that means for the future of Santa Fe boys basketball. Slaughter and Atkinson leaving certainly will be a void, ain't no doubt about that. But, yes, it is miles above where it was, and it was cool to see so many Santa Fe supporters cheering their team on a nightly basis. They traveled no matter how far it was.
Also need to mention a lot of people across the mid-state and beyond will be familiar with the name Randy Thomas, coached football and wrestling at Springfield High School, passed away Tuesday at the age of 74. He was with his son out in Texas and having some health issues and passed away again. In the 90s, Springfield football and Springfield wrestling were one of the top programs in this area, and he was a big part of that. And if you met Coach Thomas, he was an unforgettable figure, man. Just a big brawny guy and a boisterous guy and big red hair, and just he was a character, man. He was an original. And again, he did a heck of a job with both those programs up there. Had a couple of Mr. Football winners, Michael Thomas and Chico Gardner, on the football field. And again, that wrestling program that he established, they called themselves the Bruise Brothers. And I think it pretty well speaks for itself.
Yeah, he will. It sounds like he will undoubtedly be missed, not just in that community, but across the state. And, man, like you said, it sounds like he looked the part, if nothing else. I can almost envision the look you're going for there.
Yeah, he was something special, man. And, again, Springfield football, which had long been a staple across the mid-state, continued to thrive under his leadership. They won 55 games in 10 seasons, advanced to the state semifinals in 94, state quarterfinals in 97. Heck of a loss for that community, and our condolences go out to his family and to the Springfield community and that Springfield High School family as well. Again, big weekend. A lot of NCAA stuff going, both men's and women's. Your Michigan Wolverines will be back in action when?
Tomorrow, I'm assuming at night. I haven't actually confirmed a tip-off time. I'm praying it's a night tip because they need to rest after after playing in the Big Ten tournament, winning the Big Ten tournament on Sunday, and then getting shipped out straight to Denver. I was kind of surprised. Wisconsin played very well in that same situation yesterday out in Denver, and despite nearly blowing it, Michigan was able to fend off a very pesky San Diego team, which had all the makings of a team that looked like it was primed for a deep postseason run, but did not pull it off. That was a gutty win for Michigan, who continues to randomly win close ball games.
Again, as we mentioned earlier in the show, Tennessee and UCLA will play in the second round. That'll be an 8:40 tip. You can see that one on CBS tomorrow night, on TBS, tomorrow night. Lots of NCAA tournament action, both on the men's and the women's side. Looking forward to all of that, just kind of hunkering down and checking out some hoops.
Oh, no doubt. And we're getting ready to be treated to a really good one here as Greenville and Upperman are set to take the stage. We talked a lot on the show yesterday about Ty Cobb and Trey Thompson. Both of those young men, Mr. Basketball finalists, and Upperman potentially with a win would maybe get a rematch if Tullahoma can take care of business of that region championship game, which is coming up. Tullahoma, that is, will be coming up right after this.
Yeah.
Real quickly, Mo, I did want to mention, while we're talking random hoops here, props to not only the Bethel Lady Wildcats, who won their game yesterday, but also the Freed-Hardeman Lady Lions, who won today. Freed ladies winning 54-43 in the round of 16 out at the Tyson Event Center in Sioux City. But Bethel wins at 78-70 yesterday. And trying to see if the Freed men have already played today. We mentioned that all three of those would be in action. Yeah, the Freed men won as well. So all three teams are moving on and moving into the quarterfinals, which would be cool. We could be coming back on the show on Monday and talk about some teams playing in the semis next week for NAI glory.
There we go. Hey, real quick again, Alcoa did hang on and win that other Class 2A semifinal game that we were following, defeating Jackson County, 59-38. So in the 1:30 game tomorrow, it will be Loretto and Alcoa. As you mentioned, Wade, Alcoa going for yet another gold ball. Loretto trying to close out a perfect campaign. So 1:30 tomorrow, the Class 2A state championship. Greenville and Upperman getting ready to tip off here, followed by Tullahoma and Fayette Ware in the late game here in Class 3A. So looking forward to both of those.
I think so. And real quick, for those that are flipping over on NFHS or those that maybe are here in the Murphy Center, we talked about Ty Cobb, but I want you to watch number 23 for Upperman. Remember the name Brosden Chaffin. You're going to watch him out there, Mo, and you're going to say, man, this is a brute. This guy looks like a bully, and he would be a really good linebacker. He would be a really good defensive end on the football field. Well, he does play football, but he just happens to be a 6'3", 220-pound quarterback for the Bees, throwing 28 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions last year. So he kind of is deceptive in his build. Don't sleep on the big fella. He only had 4 points in their win the other night, but he torched Giles County a couple weeks ago in the region.
He looks like
beefy.
Here's the thing. You tell people to look out for him. I don't think you really have to look out for him. I spotted him immediately over here on the bench. So
he's a big dude, and Greenville with Thompson, who certainly looks the part. We talked about him yesterday. He already's got an offer from Purdue. Feels like he's going to pick up a lot of steam as he goes into his senior season next year. And we certainly talked about Cobb, who's just a sophomore. He probably will get some big attention coming up in this offseason. So should be a lot of fun, and looking forward to checking this game out. We'll see what Loretto can do. One game away from achieving the 2 goals that the team set forth, going undefeated and the state championship. You can knock them out both in one fell swoop tomorrow. It'll be tough having to play Alcoa. Feels like the Chalk has advanced to the championship, and it, in theory, means it's kind of like the NCAA tournament. There weren't a ton of upsets yesterday. There haven't been a ton of upsets today. But what that means is this weekend is going to be absolutely loaded, I feel like.
No doubt. Wade, what are your thoughts about Montreal coming to Geodis tomorrow?
Now Nashville, after winning on the road last week at Philly, you suddenly feel good. Well, suddenly you kind of better not lay an egg. And we've seen Nashville lay some stinkers and drop some points at home. Feels like a draw at an absolute minimum has got to be in the cards. You want to bag all 3 points. Would love to see some continued offensive production. I was blown away by 3 goals on the road. And that's kind of the recipe for Coach Callahan, is kind of getting upfield, pressing more. Yeah, you may yield 1 or 2 more than traditionally you're used to if you're a fan of Nashville. But getting back at home and playing well at home should be the goals, and hopefully they can take care of that.
Again, kind of high risk, high reward for Callahan and the boys in blue as they take on Montreal. What time's first touch?
7:30.
7:30 out at Geodis. Get out there and check them out. NASCAR goes to Homestead. Christopher Bell looking to get back in the winner's circle, maybe. Josh Berry maybe looking to get in there again, follow Bell's lead.
Yeah, let him start a little streak here. Why not, right?
Yeah, there we go.
And be kind of cool to see him perform well after, Heather kind of told us he was universally kind of received a lot of praise and accolades. So it felt like it was a touching story in the NASCAR community for him winning last week.
Finally, the Preds are on the ice again as they kind of play out the string here, for lack of a better phrase.
Yeah, the Preds are just trying to get to next week for Jelly Roll Bobblehead Night on Thursday at this point. They got the Leafs coming to town, and I told you guys during the rundown, Toronto is embroiled. I'm going to pull that up on Moneybug. They are embroiled in a Atlantic Division chase right there with Florida, your reigning champs. So this game means a whole lot more to Toronto than it does to Nashville, which kind of makes you think maybe Nashville will pull off something tonight. Should be a fun one. But excuse me, I keep wanting to say Montreal. How about that? You got twin Canadian teams coming in. You got Montreal for soccer, and you got Toronto coming in tonight keep your eyes peeled for the Canadians on Broadway this evening.
There we go. Vanderbilt leads St. Mary's 39-27, 15 and some change remaining in that one. The women tip against Oregon at 30 on ESPN. That's going to do it for the weekend. Today we'll see y'all at 2 o'clock Monday.